Zuo Zongtang, also sometimes referred to as General Tso, was a Chinese statesman and military leader of the late Qing dynasty. Born in Xiangyin County, Hunan Province, Zuo sat for the imperial examination in his youth but obtained only a juren degree. He then spent his time studying agriculture, geography and military strategy. In 1851, he started his career in the Qing military by participating in the campaign against the Taiping Rebellion. In 1862, he was recommended by Zheng Guofan to serve as the provincial governor of Xiangyin Province. During his term, he coordinated Qing forces to attack the Taiping rebels with support from British and French forces. For his success, he was promoted to Viceroy of Minz-He. After capturing Hangzhou from the Taiping rebels in 1864, he was informed as a first-class count. In 1866, as part of the Qing government's self-strengthening movement, Zuo oversaw the construction of the Fuzhou Arsenal and Naval Academy. In the same year, he was reassigned to serve as the Viceroy of Xiangyin, where he oversaw industrialization in Gansu Province. In 1867, he was appointed as an imperial commissioner in charge of military affairs in Gansu. During his term, he participated in the suppression of the Hunan Rebellion. In 1875, he was appointed as imperial commissioner again to supervise military action against the Dungan Revolt. By the late 1870s, he had crushed the Dungan Revolt and recaptured Xinjiang Province from rebel forces. In 1875, the Guangxu Emperor made an exception by awarding Zuo a Jinshi degree, even though Zuo never achieved this in the imperial examination, and appointing him to the Hunan Academy. In 1878, for his achievements, Zuo was promoted from a first-class count to a second-class marquis. He was reassigned to serve as the Viceroy of Liangjiang in 1881 and appointed to the Grand Council in 1884, before being made an imperial commissioner again to oversee naval affairs. He died in 1885 in Fuzhou, Fujian Province, and was given the posthumous name Wenxiang. While Zuo is best known outside China for his military exploits, he also made contributions to Chinese agricultural science and education. In particular, he promoted cotton cultivation to northwestern China as a replacement for cash opium and established a large-scale modern press in Shaanxi and Gansu provinces which published Confucian classics and newer works on agricultural science. The dish General Tso's chicken in American Chinese cuisine was named in honor of Zuo. Names: Zuo Zongtang's family name was Zuo and his given name was Zongtang. His courtesy name was Jigaokun. His art name was Zhangshang Nongren, which means peasant from Xiang. He often signed off by the name Jinlang, which means Liang of today, since he liked to compare himself with Zhu Liang. The titles of nobility he held were first-class Count Kejing from 1864 to 1878, and second-class Marquis Kejing from 1878 to his death in 1885. Zuo's posthumous name, granted by the Qing imperial court, was Wenxiang. Zuo was nicknamed Zuo Luozi, which means Zuo the Mule, for his stubbornness. Biography. Early life: Zuo was born in 1812 in a landholding family in Xiangyin County, Hunan Province. His family paid for him to attend a local private school starting from the age of 5, where he mastered the Confucian classics. At the age of 20, he qualified to attend the Imperial Academy. Zuo's career got an inauspicious start when, in his youth, he failed the imperial examination 7 times. He decided to abandon his plans to become an official and return to his home by the Xiang River to farm silkworms, read, and drink tea. It was during this period that he first directed his attention to the study of Western sciences and political economy. Taiping Rebellion. When the Taiping Rebellion broke out in 1850, Zhao, then 38 years old, was hired as an advisor to Zheng Guofan, the governor of Hunan. In 1856, he was formally offered a position in the provincial government of Hunan. In 1860, Zhao was given command of a force of 5,000 volunteers, the Xiang Army, and by September of that year, he drove the Taiping rebels out of Hunan and Guangxi provinces, into coastal Zhejiang province. Zhao captured the city of Shaoxing and, from there, pushed south into Fujian and Guangdong provinces, where the revolt had first begun. In 1863, Zhao was appointed provincial governor of Zhejiang and an undersecretary of war. In August 1864, Zhao, together with Zheng Guofan, dethroned the Taiping Heavenly Kingdom's teenage ruler Hong Tiangifu, and brought an end to the rebellion. He was created first-class Count Kejing for his part in suppressing the rebellion. Zheng Guofan and Li Hongzhang were called Zheng, Zhao, Li, the leaders in suppressing the rebellion. In 1865, Zhao was appointed Viceroy and Governor-General of Fujian and Zhejiang. As Commissioner of Naval Industries, Zhao founded China's first modern shipyard and naval academy in Fuzhou the following year. Success and appointments. Zuo's successes continued. In 1867, he became Viceroy of Shaanxi and Gansu provinces and Imperial Commissioner of the Armed Forces in Shaanxi. In 1884, his fellow Xiang Army officer, Lu Xintang, was appointed as the first governor of Xinjiang province. The governor of Xinjiang was the subordinate to the Viceroy of Shaanxi and Gansu. In these capacities, Zhao succeeded in putting down another uprising, the Hunan Rebellion, in 1868. After this military success, Zhao marched west with his army of 120,000, winning many victories with advanced Western weapons in the Dungan Revolt in northwestern China in the 1870s. Several Hui Muslim generals, such as Ma Zanao, Ma Anliang, Ma Qinling, Dong Fuzhang, and Ma Haiyun from Hezhou, who had defected to Zuo's army, helped him crush the Muslim rebels. Zhao rewarded them by relocating the Han Chinese from the suburbs of Hezhou to another place and allowing the troops to stay in the Hezhou suburbs, as long as they did not live in the city itself. In 1878, Zhao successfully suppressed Yakub Beg's uprising and helped to negotiate an end to Russian occupation of the border city of Ili. He was vocal in the debate at the Qing imperial court over what to do with the Xinjiang situation, advocating for Xinjiang to become a province, in opposition to Li Hongzhang, who wanted to abandon what he called useless Xinjiang and concentrate on defending China's coastal areas. However, Zhao won the debate. Xinjiang was made a province, and many administrative functions were staffed by his Hunan officers. Zhao was outspoken in calling for war against the Russian Empire, hoping to settle the matter by attacking Russian forces in Xinjiang with his Xiang army. In 1878, when tension increased in Xinjiang, Zhao massed Qing forces toward the Russian-occupied Kulja. The Canadian Spectator stated in 1878, news from Turkestan says the Chinese are concentrating against Kulja, a post in Kashgar occupied by the Russians. It is reported that a Russian expedition from Yat-Vernac has been fired upon by Chinese troops and forced to return. The Russians were afraid of the Qing forces, thousands of whom were armed with modern weapons and trained by European officers, because the Russian forces near the Qing Empire's border were undermanned and under-equipped, so they agreed to negotiate. Zuo's Xiang army troops were armed with modern German Dreyse needle rifles and Krupp artillery, as well as a few experimental weapons. For all his contributions to his nation and monarch, Zhao was appointed a Grand Secretary to the Grand Secretariat in 1874 and elevated to second-class Marquis Kejing in 1878. Later life and death. Zhao was appointed to the Grand Council, the cabinet of the Qing Empire at the time, in 1880. Uneasy with bureaucratic politics, Zhao asked to be relieved of his duties and was appointed Viceroy of Liangjiang in 1881. In 1884, upon the outbreak of the Sino-French War, Zhao received his fourth and last commission as Commander-in-Chief and Imperial Commissioner of the Military and Inspector General overseeing coastal defenses in Hunan Province. He died of natural causes shortly after a truce was signed between France and China in Fuzhou in 1885. Legacy. Zhao was admired by many generals who came after him. During the Republican era, the Kuomintang general Bai Chongxi wanted to reconquer Xinjiang for the nationalist government in Zuo's style, and expelled Russian influence from the area. Zhao was also referred to by Kuomintang General Ma Zhongying as one of his models, as Ma led the National Revolutionary Army's 36th Division to reconquer Xinjiang for the nationalist government from the pro-Soviet governor Juren during the Hunan Rebellion. While Zhao is best known for his military acumen, he believed that the key to peace and stability lay in an educated, prosperous citizenry. He sometimes referred to himself by his art name, peasant from Xiang, and was keenly interested in agriculture. He advocated the scientific reform of commercial agriculture both as a way to strengthen China's economic self-sufficiency and also as a way to manage civilian populations by improving the standard of living and controlling the kinds of crops they grew. During the 12 years he spent in northwestern China, he undertook extensive agricultural research on different crops and methods, comparing the benefits and indications of two ancient agricultural methods, the more established long-field crop rotation method and the less common intensive small-field method. Zhao believed that the latter method, cultivating small fields of densely planted monocultures, was more suitable to the dry, extreme climate of the northwest region. To promote this method, he authored 2 pamphlets explaining the method, which were then distributed freely to local farming communities. Zhao also recognized the threat of opium to the nation's stability and economic health and advocated replacing opium poppies with cotton as the major cash crop in Gansu and Shaanxi provinces. He authorized the large-scale distribution of cotton seeds and published pamphlets on its cultivation and processing. In 1878, he also oversaw the establishment of a large weaving factory in present-day Hunan County, Gansu Province, with the aim of creating a new textile industry in the region and providing socially acceptable employment to women, in addition to managing the peasantry by improving their economic circumstances. Zhao also believed that increasing access to traditional Chinese philosophy would help to pacify areas experiencing unrest and ultimately create a more contented and unified populace. To this end, Zhao set up a printing press in northwestern China which printed Chinese classics, as well as agricultural pamphlets. When Zhao first arrived in the region, a decade of constant warfare had virtually stopped all publishing in the region. Zhao prioritized re-establishing the printing industry a priority, and thousands of copies of the publications he authorized were distributed in Ningxia, Qinghai, Gansu, Shaanxi and Xinjiang. Printing appears to have stopped when Zhao returned to Beijing, but the endeavor is credited with inspiring later printing presses. Family. Zuo's great-grandparents were Zhao Fengsheng and Madame Jiang. His grandparents were Zhao Renjin and Madame Yang. His parents were Zhao Guanan and Madame Yu. Zhao had two elder brothers, Zuo Zongtang and Zuo Zongtang. In 1832, Zhao married Zhou Yijuan, a woman from Peitou Township, Xiangyin County in Hunan Province. Zhou's courtesy name was Junction. They had 4 daughters and 4 sons as follows: Zhao Xiaoyu, courtesy name Shenjuan, Zuo's first daughter. She married Tao Ju's son, Tao Guang. She wrote Shishu Shisao. Zhao Xiaoqi, courtesy name Jingshai, Zuo's second daughter. She wrote Yilan Shishisao. Zhao Shaolan, courtesy name Zhangju, Zuo's third daughter. She married Li Fachang from Xiangyin County. She wrote Qianghua Ji Shisao. Zhao Shaobin, courtesy name Shaohua, Zuo's fourth daughter. She married Zhou Yibiao from Xiangyin County. She wrote Dan Rouge Yishi. Zhao Shaowei, courtesy name Zhaizhong, Zuo's first son. Zhao Shaoquan, Zuo's second son. Zhao Shaozun, Zuo's third son. Zhao Shaotong, courtesy name Zi, Zuo's fourth son. General Tso's chicken. The dish General Tso's chicken in American Chinese cuisine was introduced in New York in the 1970s, inspired by the dish originally prepared by Peng Changkue, a Taiwanese chef specializing in Hunan cuisine. Peng named the dish in honor of Zuo Zongtang.